Did you know that according to statistics in 2015, the African youth constituted about 19% of the global youth population? In Nigeria alone, there are currently about 40 million youth. These are individuals between the ages of 18 to 29 years of age. So you definitely agree with me that it's important we talk about the participation of youth in politics. Hello and welcome to SMA Talks, the podcast. My name is Ayodeji Saraki. Today I have my guys with me in the booth. I have Salim Mohammed Tarfa, aka The Fizzy Speaks. Salim does podcast as well. If you haven't listened, you should try and listen to the Fizzy Speaks podcast. I've been featured quite a number of times and it's very, very educative. And also I have Damilola Idowu, aka Dami Legend. Yes, Dami Legend is an engineer and he freelances as a DJ every now and then. And I must say, you guys are really talented. I mean, you guys are very talented, you know. So it's good to have you guys, man. Yeah, brother. So, like the topic today is the importance of youth in the participation in politics. Mm-hmm. So, and the reason I wanted to discuss with you guys is because I know you guys are Nigerian youth and you guys are not politicians. You are just normal. Okay. You know, you're just normal, the regular Nigerian guys.
Are we regular?
That doing. No, you're not regular. You're on another level.
Yes.
You know, you know, and you guys are not politicians. So why do you think it's important youth get involved in politics right now?
Well, first of all, I'll say that it's important that all people are involved in politics.
True.
Because we do understand that the youth basically are still like a subsect of society.
Yeah.
But what actually is important is that there should be no subset of society that is completely without representation in the policies
yes,
politics.
Of course.
So I feel where it comes in as being very important is that if we have a generation of young people who are not in any way engaged or currently engaging the policymakers or currently even involved in that process of creating those policies of checkmating and monitoring the political space to really understand what is happening with the country, because politics is just one end of the spectrum for what happens in a country. But if that spectrum, that frequency basically is ignored, is just no one is paying attention to it, then it is very possible that we see a generation that rises up and is completely without the exposure, the needed experience, the needed know-how that comes with being involved in politics.
I think I agree with you. It's quite important for everyone to be. So politics is not just about maybe one side, maybe the youth population. Yeah. Everybody has to be involved in politics.
Exactly.
But Dami, if you look at it, like you're a DJ, I mean, you freelance as a DJ sometimes. Do you think in that industry, do you think DJs, because you see musicians, DJs, they're just entertainment inclined. All they focus on is entertainment. Because I've had many friends like yourself, and you tell them, "How you guys? Do you see what happened in so election? Or did you see the recent bill they just passed or something like? Oh, did you beg? It's not important." But do you think now with the series of events happening in the country, do you think DJs, basically people in the entertainment space, do you think they would now be more involved in politics as youth?
Yeah, I feel like from the recent events of things that we have seen, that the actual people that drive the youths are people in entertainment.
Yeah.
So everybody wants people in entertainment that should to lend their voices to different causes in the society. So the majority of the youth population of the society actually listen and follow what these so-called entertainers do. So it is actually important that we have people in the entertainment that lend their voices to policy making and also to different political ideologies that they might have. At least we have seen people like Fowles, people like Davido, Wizkid, almost everybody who is
uncountable celebrity,
entertainment. Everybody has come to know, because if you are not active in this sphere, people will drive policies that will affect what you are doing now. So people, the youth want entertainment to be seen as something that is backed by law, that is maybe giving budgets the way other spheres of the economy.
Of course, piracy and a lot.
And because at least in Nigeria, for example, entertainment is one of the biggest, like, let me say, how do they used to put image that drives the image of the country, basically, like gives our like country, like it paints our country in good light to the rest of the world because of the music and the people in our entertainment space. So
some people even say that our entertainment is our greatest resource right now.
Yeah, so it's part of the human resource of a nation. So with all that, I will encourage everybody in the entertainment space to actually like be know what is going on. Like lend your voices to political affiliations, and don't just like distance yourself, because every policy they make will always affect you. Yeah, because like for Africa, close to 50% of the population are youths, and youths of this generation are driven by stuffs like entertainment. So you can't say you are an entertainer and decide like, oh, I'm not going to be involved in.
Would you say the recent event that is happening has even made you yourself be more proactive or involved?
Yeah. Like when this EndSARS movement started in Nigeria, like it was like me, for example, I'm not really the outspoken person about politics or something. Like when it started, it was just like, oh, okay, yeah, this thing is starting, but like nobody caught the fire until it started like spreading. Now I can face people and talk about my opinions on matters. So I feel like this has actually like made me aware of stuff. Like when I come to, we meet up and we discuss about issues, I take my time to like just listen, absorb stuff, go back on my own and do like a retrospect, like, okay, what do I actually need to learn?
True, and I think that's very important, Salim, because when we start listening to each other and when we start talking about issues, we get to even learn from ourselves. And I would like to look at it from a broader perspective, like not just Nigeria, because Nigeria, we have the hashtag EndSARS movement. In Congo, we have Congo is bleeding. In Namibia, we have shut it all down. In South Africa, there is a hashtag Am I Next? In Cameroon, we have hashtag Anglophone crisis. In Liberia, there's hashtag rape as a national emergency. Then in Ivory Coast and Ghana, there's child trafficking, because they're trafficking children from Mali and Burkina Faso and bringing them into Ghana and Ivory Coast to work on cocoa farms, which is a terrible thing going on. So basically, permit me to say Africa is bleeding because major countries in Africa are facing one crisis or the other. So let's look at it from a broader perspective as African youth, basically. Because Africa, we have the largest population of youth in the world. So since we have that population as youth, and most of our leaders, if you look at them in Africa, they are old people, old individuals, men and women. And there's this message that's been going around for a while in Africa: the youth are hungry for leadership roles. How can we even start with where we are?
Okay, if I may, one thing that I've seen is when it comes to leadership, when it comes to true leadership, people who are truly leaders don't go about looking for leadership.
Sure.
They don't go about saying, give me this title, give me that title. They just lead. Usually it is people that now see them leading and say, you know what, we love what you're doing over there, come and do it over here.
Then we'll follow.
And then we'll follow.
Yeah.
Or even if they can't bring you over, they come and join you, because they've bought into the vision of what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Now, I think the problem Africa currently has is that Africa is a great continent.
Yes, it is.
Yeah? But it's not great because of its resources, it's great because of its people.
True.
It's great because of its diversity. It's great because of the richness in culture we have. The problem, however, is that when you have a generation, when you have a generational appearance of older people across the board, you have people in their 80s. I think one of the elections that was recently concluded, we had the president returning is 86.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's just wow. If you're going to go into power for next 4 so-called years, you need to have people who are interested in the future. People who are in connect with them, with the history, with the rich heritage, with the understanding of what it is to be African, and then who are visionaries to look forward and say, you know what, this should be the next 4 years of Africa. This should be the next 4 years of Botswana. This should be the next 4 years of Ghana, of Togo, of Liberia, of this and that. So we don't get to that point of being leaders by asking these people who have been there for decades to suddenly relinquish power. It doesn't happen.
Salim and Dami, I mean, this topic is a very sensitive one. Some people are of this school of thought that politicians make deliberate effort to make the youth in Nigeria and in Africa not to be educated enough and well informed enough to even pick up interest in politics. So in Nigeria, we had a case of, for many years, history wasn't being taught in school. Only recently did we reintroduce history as a studies back into the classrooms. So do you think it's because a lot of people don't even know about governance? Because you see the average person, the person doesn't even know the local government chairman. He doesn't know the House of Rep that represents him in the Nigerian Senate. He doesn't know anything. So how do we put that burden on ourselves that I have to go and learn these things? I have to learn government. I have to know what is happening. I have to know who our leaders are.
Okay.
Do you think that's it?
I think one of the things that we have to also take note of is the fact that for people who are in power, that illusion, because in Africa, for example, we've seen cases where the narrative is predominantly that respect means absolution in, let's say, obedience, and there is that firmament, basically, that veil between the governing and the governed. You understand? So what happens usually is, even in the schools, even in the educational system, you see people that can't approach their lecturers because they have a demigod complex.
Sure.
And this has gone on for many years, reducing what should have been an opportunity for development, for mentorship, because just imagine, for example, in the educational system, if you have, like you said, you have history. Yes. The truth about the matter is that the average history professor isn't just blessed with the knowledge of history. He's blessed with, or he or she rather, is blessed with the foresight. Because what history helps you see is to realize trends. When you do data analysis, for example, you're taking different data, you're trying to interpolate and all of that, and you want to get like a kind of a graph that represents the changes over time. What you will want to see, if you want to see the young people engaging government and saying, okay, you know what, let's start asking who is our local government chairman, who is our state deputy governor, who is in charge of the police in this place, who is in charge of this and that. Sure. Where that happens is where we start to tear down the veil. When people know that they can be accessible, because the reason why the average young person, I feel, is not in connect with politics is because they feel there is a hopelessness because of that veil that's separating them. So even if
it's a one distant thing.
Yes. So they see the people in authority as being very distant.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that I feel like has also blended into our culture with regards to how we see fathers.
Fathers, that's our parents.
Our parents.
Okay.
So, we see, okay, you're closer to one particular parent, and one particular parent is distant. To see that particular parent, you have to book an appointment for next week. Yeah. It has to be around 2 p.m. The sun must be shining. And all of this happens, and without us knowing, we are gradually building a new culture of youth, of a youth that doesn't know that they can actually approach. We saw that with the recent protests in Nigeria, where the youth came out and they spoke in a protest. Yeah. They were unwilling to go directly to the government. Why? Because they already have this understanding that so far it hasn't worked. There is a veil between us. So that protest was like, if we can't bring down the veil ourselves, we're going to call on the international community to come and listen to us. Luckily, I see that all over Africa, young people are beginning to speak. That is one way to start that. Hey, look, I realize there is a veil here, and I don't want it anymore. Can we speak face to face? That is where we are coming to as young people in Africa, and I feel like this is a good start.
Beautiful. I think it's a good start, like you said. Dami, I would like to ask about illiteracy. The population in Africa is large, the youth population In fact, according to the African Youth Charter, it recognizes youth as people between ages of 15 to 35 years of age. But according to United Nations, it defines youth population within the ages of 15 to 24 years old. Anyway, so let's just say
wait, so that means according to the UN?
Yes, according to UN.
We are grandparents.
You can imagine.
I love it.
So,
ancestors.
I like to look at it from the angle of illiteracy. Should we say that it's largely because in Nigeria, for example, we have a lot of kids that are out of school, and these are the people who say, oh, they are going to be the future leaders of tomorrow. In fact, the recent protests that we're still having, the NSAS protest in Nigeria, you can argue that a lot of people on the streets did not even know why we're protesting. They didn't even know the meaning of NSAS, the movement, the idea behind the movement NSAS, and that's why some people argue that it resulted to thuggery and the whole violence. So would you say it's because many people are illiterate, many young people are illiterate, they don't have the correct information, and that's why they don't really know politics, or maybe that's what resulted to the lack of interest?
Yeah, like Salim said, there has been like that veil between the people in power and the governed. So I feel like politics does not have to be like something that is so like complex, but it's complex.
Okay.
But there should be a way to communicate politics to the average person on the street. So, but a lot of us don't really know politics in the simplest form. We don't need to like go like so deep. And there are different ways of communicating information. At least the so-called illiterate people, they still come and vote in elections. Will you say, oh, because they are illiterate, they should not go and vote in elections? So how are they getting their information? Like you said, information, the right information. So there are different channels where you can communicate to these people. Yeah, that's where the community kind of leadership comes in place, where you have your kings, your baales in the Yoruba kingdom.
Sure.
Yeah, your chiefs, all these little communities. What information are they passing down to the people like at the lowest end of the chain? So is that communication gap? Yeah, that is the problem, because the average man on the street is still like suffering the same way the somebody like at the higher spectrum of the ladder is facing. So I feel like it's the information and that is being passed from the top down to the people,
the bottom.
Yeah, that is the problem. And if people are politically like drunk, like with power, they will always make sure that the right information does not like go down to the people like on the streets, in the villages and all that. But the only information that like actually go down to these people are the ones that suit their own like interest. So even as youths, we need to, I think one thing that we have realized from this so-called struggle is education. Like we need to educate these people. Like even people that can even speak English, when you ask them, okay, NSAS, what is it all about? We know like our country has like 1,001 problems.
Sure.
They will just fit in all those 1,001 problems into
that umbrella.
Into that. But you are missing the real point. So that is now like our job as youths in our communities. Like, what information are we passing to people around? If we're in a cab and the driver is complaining, or people in the bus are like complaining, oh, Nigeria is not good. The president did this. The Senate, somebody did this. And you can see like, oh, these people are not informed. They are like, they have the wrong information. So what, like, we have to like take our time and not just be like a Jessica and just, oh, it does not concern me. Like, try to like school them. Okay, this is the right info. Like, I went to the market recently. I was even guilty of this. I saw a video where like the former president was at the airport. Somebody was greeting him and it was like rushing. So people were like, took it to mean that, okay, because Nigeria is like currently like the state of the country is like tensed, that the former president was like actually like running away from the country. Yeah. But actually, this was like a video from like 2018. So I went to the market like, people were even discussing about it. Yeah. I could have gone to meet them to tell them like, sorry, this video is not like current. Yeah? So we need to take it on ourselves as youths. Yeah.
True.
To people that are so-called enlightened, to enlighten the people that are not enlightened. Yeah.
I agree with you. I know that's an issue we'll still discuss further in the podcast, which is fake news. We have to address that. But I would not like us to like sit here and to just be like we're just complaining and giving. I would like us to prefer solutions and ways that youth can actively be involved in politics. So something you mentioned, you said most times the information are from the top to bottom. So, but personally, I would like to start by suggesting, and which I think that it should be that way, that the information should have actually been, from bottom up. It has to be a grassroots. You see, anywhere that would have a successful democracy, right? The people below, the bottom of the pyramid, any pyramid, the largest part of the pyramid is the bottom. Do you understand? The same thing with politics or any institution. So the people below, the people at the bottom, right, are the masses, are the Nigerians or the Africans, they are the people. So the people on top are elected by the people below. Now, there has to be active participation from people at the grassroots, which has to be our communities. Most of us don't participate in whatever is going on in our communities. We feel maybe too proud, or we act too big, that, let them do it. They call for meetings in maybe your community. You don't go. You don't even know people around. What are you doing within your family? Do you understand? Because at the end of the day, what makes the politicians, like I always say, or our leaders, a reflection of us, the reflection of the people. Because our leaders are our parents, our brothers, our sisters. And I always say this also, you can't expect a British police in Nigeria. You can't expect an American police in Nigeria. The same thing you can't expect a Nigerian police in America. So you get what you deserve, right? So it has to start from the bottom. How are we participating within our society? How are we showing up? You said you went to the market now. You may be passing somewhere and you feel that there's something wrong happening in that society and you can support, not necessarily monetary support. It could just be advice by just opening your mouth to encourage the next person. You shouldn't wait all the time for government to do that. So the onus is on you as not just a youth, but as a member of your community to protect and ensure that your community is safe. Like example is the burnings that happened in Lagos. Right, so some people, they were looking at, I saw videos of people looking at the fire going up where people were just setting tires and burning it. You could just take it upon yourself and, protect that your community and say, okay, these are the thugs in the area, don't burn our community. Because I saw some that destroyed the cables of light, electricity and all of that. Who is going to suffer for it? I mean, it's you in your community that live there that you don't have electricity for next 1 month or so. So I think the participation, like the topic today, participation of youth in politics, is actually participation of youth in your community. What are you doing differently? Do you have some?
So I do feel very strongly that the first office of politics that any of us are gonna have is that we have with ourselves, and that we have with our families, and that we have with our friends and our colleagues. That is the first level of politics that we do have, because whether we like it or not, politics is something that we all do. Yeah? There's a broader picture of politics that you say, okay, you're in the government and all of that. But whether or not you like it, you play politics even in your house.
True.
Yeah? There's a hierarchy, there's a way you report certain issues. Even as kids, something happens, you relate the issue to your mom. Okay, mom, this is not working. How do we fix this? That is the same.
Also translates into society.
Yes, translates in society. So where you have failed political systems, failed political mentality from the individual perspective, it broadens into that family role, into that friendly social circle, into that school, your colleague, you're working. It's building up from there. So we have to check our own mentalities towards everyday politics. that everyday politics is what is really important now. How are we willing to be long term in our vision for our actions? You know, if you're going to do something now, you can as well get angry when you're watching the news and there's a speech going on and the speech is not making sense. You can try to just say, you know what, I'm going to take my remote and, you know, throw it at the TV screen. Yeah, you could do that. Yeah, and maybe in the short term, you get some kind of feeling of release. Okay, yes, you've released that anger, the tension has left you. But in the long term, you don't have that TV anymore. True. Probably fixing that TV is going to set you back a lot of money. Yeah. So where the sense comes in is that within ourselves there's a political back and forth going on. True. There are different ideologies at war. So when we act, we need to act with that preemptive, proactive, long-term thinking strategy. That okay, how are my actions now, or how are the actions of this person, my ward, someone who is close to me, who I'm responsible for. I think if on Physics Speaks, we had an episode with Damilola, where he spoke about you being responsible. On the adult series, you've been responsible for other people around you as well. So you are in a sense responsible for your friends, for your family, for your neighbor, right? So if you see your neighbor acting in a way that is against the long-term strategy or long-term vision for a prosperous country or community or family even, that is where you need to now act, speak up and say, hey, don't litter, put it in the waste bin. Why? People are going
and if there's no waste bin around, put it in your pocket.
Put it in your pocket, right? Yeah. Put it in a bag, put it somewhere, don't put it on the ground. Because you've seen the long-term strategy that apart from us having a clean environment, we will be better protected against flooding if the heavy rains do come.
Exactly.
You know, and then we'll also be able to improve the longer durability of the roads because there's less debris on the road, there's less room for water to gather and erode our roads away. You see how everything builds up.
Yeah, I mean we're interconnected. Yeah, so what you do affects the next person.
Exactly.
So we shouldn't just be selfish and think that your action would not affect another person. You should always know that your action will affect the other person.
Where I feel like the real level of adulting, of being responsible as people in society comes in is that you are able to see how everything connects. If you allow one person steal from this shop, you know what? That person that is working in that shop might lose their job. If you're in a shop, you see someone shoplifting, and you say nothing about it, you decide to turn the blind eye. Someone at the end of the month is going to get queried for that and lose their job.
True.
And that person might have kids. Those kids may not be able to go to school because they couldn't make
because
the money
of your own action.
Because of your action or inaction now. Yeah. So we have that responsibility. Someone is going to loot somewhere. You have a responsibility to that person and for your community. You can also say to that person, no, do not go out. If the person is trying to you have to reason with that person. And if it gets to a point where you cannot reason with that person, unfortunately, I feel you might have to report them to the necessary authorities that can restrain them from doing that act.
Sure.
Because once you cut power lines, once you vandalize pipelines, once you burn people's cars, you have set off a chain reaction. I mean, a chain of action, ripple effect that affects people that, in fact, it might even affect you directly.
Of course, it's going to affect you directly.
So that's the thing.
And you know what is interesting about what you said is, if we see anybody trying to loot, we have to make sure we do everything in our power to stop it, because looting is at all stages. So our politicians looting is all the term corruption.
So at every level. It's not just, but if it doesn't happen at the grassroots, like you said, it can't happen up there.
So if we stop ourselves from looting the small shops and small businesses, we'll be able to have that moral conduct to say politicians too, we have to hold them accountable. You can't be corrupt, you can't steal public funds, because you're also looting at your own stage. So looting is stage. There are levels to this thing.
like something I know, the way you can build a nation or build a community is to build what you have in front of you. Yeah. So basically, you have to think, okay, what do I have in front of me? My family. What do I have in front of me? My friends. What do I have in front of me?
Your pet.
Yeah. There are ways
you're responsible for something.
There are ways.
Shout out to cat lovers.
There are ways you can control. There are ways you can train them that they know. Okay, you can't poo here. You can't just litter the floor. Okay, go to a specific place to litter. So the same way. So we need to build what is in front of us. If everybody builds what is in front of them here, the nation as a whole will like get better. So it's just like give more insight to what the point Salim
is trying to say.
Yeah. So and I've had this conversation with somebody in the family that is a politician. So he may mention like, okay, we say the government is corrupt, we say people are corrupt. Like just do a retrospect and check the way families are run. Yeah. Especially when it comes to
that's a big one.
It is a big one.
That table that is
like,
yes,
especially when it comes to maybe finance, basically, like regardless of who comes first, in terms of age wise, if you have like a younger kid, brother, like that is maybe has maybe more financial wealth than you have, yeah. So when you might have more like in terms of knowledge base, you might have like good advice, good knowledge, yeah, because we all have our level of intelligence. Some people is academic, some people is spiritual, some people is finance. So we can't all be in that.
Some people is emotional intelligence.
Some people is even music.
Yeah, some people music. I mean,
like Idowu, for example, musical legend.
Yeah, some people like dancing. Sorry, that was a joke. Salim is a terrible dancer.
I'm not a terrible dancer.
So like when you like you give your advice on something, and your kid bro gives the same advice or like a lesser advice, sometimes because of the financial intelligence, they will pick that advice over yours. And if you now have the opportunity to be in a public space to maybe like loot money or something, because we all have that pride in us, like want to show off like, oh, I'm better off, I can do it because of where I'm coming from. So because that moral, everybody preaches moral. Where does moral start from? It starts from the family. So if I don't have it from my family, I can't. If I get to the top,
I agree with you.
So like we have to build what is in front of us. That's the solution. So before I can say, oh, I can change when I get to the top. I'm going to change.
What am I
doing now?
Yes. What you do behind closed doors.
Yes.
What you
when
do now.
When people don't see me.
Yes.
You
just made me remember a conversation I had with someone a few years ago, and this guy was actually making a case for why people do cybercrime and was justifying it. But I think I will do that on one of these podcasts very soon. That's a different conversation.
Yeah.
So, but before we go, I would like us to actually discuss on baby steps we can do, we can suggest for young people to get involved in politics. So it's something I saw on one of my research. So there's this website called votesaveamerica.com. So votesaveamerica.com. I stumbled across it and if you open this website, I mean, you guys tech lovers, and if you're involved in politics, of course, I think you should check it out. It's something that young tech guys, I personally want young tech guys listening to this podcast now, go and check that website and see how you can build something like that for our country, Nigeria. That website, they designed it such that, so for example, if you have a candidate like they have in America, the Joe Biden and Donald Trump for the November 3rd election, so they'll give you a history of who Donald Trump is. They'll compare the candidates for you. I mean, it's a well-detailed app for those people that don't really know much about politics. You can just go into this website and see, okay, who are the contestants for so position, even at state level. So they'll tell you the policies. What's this person saying about what's his economic policies? What is our economic policies? So you can see they compare and contrast. And I feel when I stumbled across it, I was really excited. I was like, these are the kind of things young people, because now that we have majority of our population on mobile phone 24/7, like we literally can't do anything without our phones. It would be an avenue if you can create that and we're using our phones. There's no excuse. All of us can go through it and we can better be informed about who our leaders and politicians are even before we vote, right? So, and I also want to suggest the importance of volunteering. You know, a lot of people do not volunteer. They see no importance in it. I mean, I've spoken to a lot of people here in our country, Nigeria, and they'll tell you, they go pay me. Why I go volunteer? They do free work. Who go pay me? So I would like you guys to address the issue of, it's not just about you being paid. Why it is important we volunteer as youth?
Okay, for someone like me who has, at some point in time, I was a member of ISEC in Lagos. And one thing that I would actually say to people, apart from other, and aside from other volunteering, jobs, or I'll say jobs, because it's a responsibility.
Sure.
But one of the things that volunteering does for you, it's kind of like internship, where you are kind of thrust upon with the responsibility of doing real work, just that you may not get paid for it. However, this is what people don't like to hear. You'll be paid with experience.
True.
You'll be paid with exposure.
True.
You'll even be paid with network.
True, absolutely.
Because the things that you get from, you just officiating at, let's say, an event, there's a role for you to volunteer as an usher, to help people serve, the dignitaries and all of that. And within a few, hello, here's your let's say your drink or your meal, whatever, and then you attend someone. Okay, where can I get this? This over there, and the person sees you, and then you're able to now say, sir, I read your work or something. It allows you kind of access to people who otherwise you have no business,
no access
to.
Sure.
So that volunteering not just puts you in networking positions, it also enables you to have a different perspective from the one you have currently about the way things are being run.
Sure.
If you do not go to, let's say, volunteer with NGOs, with outreaches, with all of that, you may think that, oh, why am I going? Are they going to pay me? What is it? If you've ever gone to an orphanage, if you've ever gone to an internally displaced people's camp, as the IDP camps, if you've ever been to a small community where people don't even have access to electricity, to water, and you go there for a small project, you begin to see the huge impact your simple presence has made. The reality of what it takes to build a country starts with when people know what they are, why they need to build. If people say everything is okay, I have lights in my house, there's water, I don't have a reason to go, what am I doing? But when you see that, when you go out of where you're staying, when you go out of
your comfort zone,
when you go out of your Maitama, and you go to some places like, I don't know, Kuchingoro, for example, you might begin to now see that, okay, there are people who have been moved away from their homes, people who don't have food, people who don't have clothes to wear, and then you begin to see that there's a bigger world than the world you're seeing. There's a bigger world than you're being even shown on TV. The news channels can only tell you so much based on maybe their own bias or whatever they want.
Based on their breaking story.
But they're breaking story because they're trying to hit ratings.
Yes.
They are having a different business ball game on the screen you're watching. So when you get out there, get involved, you begin to now see the reasons why you need to learn about the policies. That's when you begin to ask questions like, how can a whole local government not have water for over 6 months? Who is supposed to be in charge of this? That triggers you to go and ask a question. That triggers you to go and read and ask questions. Who is supposed to be in charge of this local government? That's when, if you want to now come out and say, the government needs to do this and this and this, you begin to know which
and
government.
you're well informed when you're even criticizing government.
When you want to criticize, if you are called out, when you see people come out during the protest, you had a lot of people coming out, and you see people talking about, okay, we want better roads, we want better this, and you're speaking and you're directing your attacks to the presidency, the executives. You're saying, we need this, we need that. If you were more informed, instead of just saying, this is the problem, you begin to speak to them with solutions. You begin to speak to them with awareness. Sure. I think that's where you should really start from.
Dami, I'd like you to just say a few words, because we have totally run out of time, on why it's very important, because I know you have had great mentors in your life, people to put you through, and that's what you're doing so well. So I'd like you to tell us, like your name, Dami Legend. So why is it important our youth now? And I want you to talk to the youths listening in Africa. Why is it important we have mentors, we are being tutored by great people, recognized great people in our society to be tutored, be under someone's tutelage. I mean, just tell them the importance of mentorship, what it has done for you and why it is very important.
I feel like mentorship is like pretty important because it saves you time. Like it helps you like eliminate a lot of mistakes that you'll have like made along the way. When somebody can like put you through like, okay, this is the way it's going to be. You build plus the experience that Salim like mentioned. You build the experience, then you build that network too via like your mentor, because your mentor will have people. So if you're having like difficulty in a particular aspect, you can say, oh, go and meet so and so. Then you'll learn, so that when you have the opportunity to get into that like particular position in the future, it makes like your work like less easy. Like you won't make the mistakes they made. Yeah, and you will see things from a different perspective. So if you have like a mentor in the older generation and you are in the new generation, you have the ideology of the new generation, and also what the older people like, the way they think and the way they do things. Okay, where they did it right and where they like got it wrong. Yeah, okay, how can I use my own like ideology, the new generation ideology, to like change things? So like it's very important. And the sad thing about it is just that gap for you to find the people, the true people that will mentor you, because even the evil people mentor people to come and take over their position. So for you to get the actual people that will mentor you right, that's where
I like what you said. Thank you very much. And you just made me remember a saying that a great man said. He said, learn from other people's mistakes, because you won't live long enough to make all the mistakes yourself. So I think you. I think I was that great. It's easy. Thank you very much. And I would like listeners. I would like you to. I mean, my two guests, they have in fact really said a lot. But I would like to just reinforce you with the knowledge that we're in a democratic system, and the only way we can, and the truth is, we can't fully exhaust this topic of the participation of youth in politics, because there are a lot of angles to it, and because of that, I think I'm going to do a part 2 of this. But what I'll just say is, in a democratic system, we work by votes. So everyone, you have to be involved from grassroots up. And come 2023 in Nigeria, everyone please endeavor to get your PVC. That is the only way we can, remove the bad leaders and put in, only with our voters card, the great ones we think would deliver on our great cause. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you, my friends. Tafizi, Salim, and Damilola. On that note, I say bye for now.
Bedant.